think today I've hit the start and stop more times than I would like to care for. And the reason because one thing keeps running through my mind. Luckily, next semester, hopefully, we're going to be returning in person, teaching and competing, and we're going to be traveling and we're going to be doing our tournaments. And I was thinking about something. I was thinking about the harsh reality of how students engage with other students across different campuses, be that community college or four-year universities, and how certain schools assign themselves characteristics and definitely claim that they are prestigious schools, whereas other schools are less prestigious. And I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that because that means that students who come from less prestigious schools are meant to or made to feel like they are less than the students from different different schools. In other words, making them appear or feel that they are inferior, which means their education that they're going to acquire is going to be less worthy. The degrees that they're going to claim are going to have less value. And society is not being very helpful with it because there is automatic determination or some sort of a evaluation that goes into place, but that ranks certain schools over the others. And I'm not talking about necessarily the private institutions that have $40 billion or $30 billion or $27 billion endowments and are able to generate more money in interest than other schools are able to do it through tuition, but rather this competition amongst the students in this hierarchy of the makes it very difficult for teachers to be able to say, hey, well, that means you went to a good school versus meaning that whoever is not gone to the good school went to a bad school. And of course, nobody would have enough gumption to be able to stand and say, yes, absolutely, that's what we declaratively say. Our school is better. And they say, we're better in, you're not bad, but we're better. And my problem isn't necessarily that we cannot rank schools by their academic achievements, but interestingly enough, it's quite often seen that economic impetus of the school or the cost of it is also highly correlates or parallels the elite statuses that they receive. And the reason that I'm thinking about it and the reason that it makes me feel uneasy is because I fundamentally do not believe that any one of my students are in any way, shape, or form less than any number of students in any one of those fancy schools. And but me saying that to them is akin to a parent saying to their child that they're good, and the child saying to the parent, well, you say that because you're my parent, which means and when you step outside of your school and you go to a different campus and they look at you and they allow themselves such comments such as, oh, you're here, how did you afford to get here? Or you go to a tournament and you are forced to, during a national tournament, you are forced to have your students eat outside because you can't afford to eat at the tournament hotel, whereas people are getting money in order to be able to do it. One would say, well, then Grant, you're talking about equity and equality and access and resources. This isn't necessarily to say that it has anything to do with students feeling problematic or bad, and students should just realize, right, like we live in a world in which like money matters, and just the resources, an issue of resources isn't equitably divided. So that is not reflective necessarily of their understanding and or knowledge. But for myself, year in, year out, that reality is almost maddening, and it's also saddening to a point where it's upsetting to be able to say to my students over and over again that nobody's better than they are. And the the response I get is they're not better than us, but they definitely have more money. And I guess I'm tired of that just a little bit, because I think every student who goes to school, who tries hard and is able to graduate, needs to be recognized, but they're not going to be, because the hard work that some kid from Rio Hondo Community College has done in order to put themselves through community college and then to get their BA and then be able to do 2 jobs while studying for LSAT and then finally getting into the law school and then struggling to it is definitively, and I'm not saying that somebody who went to a fancy law school has worked any hard or any less, but if they haven't and if they didn't, then would we not agree that it would be problematic that the student who went to 3rd tier law school but worked his butt off or her butt off probably deserves the same pay as the person who went to some fancy Ivy League school? I don't know. Call me an idealist. But I think they do deserve it.